AI is moving fast. So fast, it's hard to keep up. In fact, in ServiceNow's latest AI Maturity Index, scores dipped 20% from last year. But that's okay, because AI isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. You may be behind today, but tomorrow you could be a pace setter. Dive into ServiceNow's AI Maturity Index and see how you can innovate as fast as your ambitions. Visit servicenow.com/AI maturity.
We're not against rap. We're not against rappers. But we are against those.
Something big about to happen. I hear the beat tapping. We some fly rhyming felines rapping on the track. Better yet, grab a gat, cause we hot like Enzo. Doors closed, windows up, cause that's the way we like to ride. Windy City hitting. Check mic 1 2 1 2. We live, baby.
Yo, what's up, Chicago, and welcome back to Speak Your Mind Radio, episode 557, season 15. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Queen Star, aka MzHipHop. And in today's program, y'all, will be discussing the tragic passing of 90s superstar actor Malcolm-Jamal Warner and his cause of death, plus the legacy he left. Oh my goodness, this is so hard for me to talk about. Excuse me. 54-year-old Malcolm-Jamal Warner died Sunday, July 20th, 2025, and was born on August 18th, 1970. He was a Leo, a leader, and a commander of his ship. Malcolm died in an accidental drowning in Costa Rica, where he was vacationing with his family. He went out for, a swim in the sea, and they couldn't find him for about an hour. And that's when they started to get concerned, his family. Long story short, he was pulled out to sea by a current. And while he was swimming, he choked on the water and it suffocated him until he passed out. And his body and his lungs began to fill with the water. I felt like he was knocked out by the current before he suffocated, meaning I believe he didn't suffer, if that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like the current just knocked him out first and then his body began to fill with water. I think that's what happened. Now, the Red Cross said that there were two adult men that had been pulled from sea and they were treated on site. The other guy, he was 35 years old, but his identity hasn't been revealed yet. And he was transferred to a local clinic in critical condition. They tried to resuscitate Warner, but he didn't show vital signs and he was declared dead. At that point, when I read that, I began to break down and cry. I mean, when I first found out, I didn't cry because I was just literally still in shock. And that's happened to me before with certain people passing in my life. So I finally broke down and cried about it. And I just started to remember Jamal playing in the comedy sitcom series called Malcolm and Eddie. Y'all remember that show that came out in the 90s? Oh my gosh. It was such a good show. It was so freaking funny, right? The show was about two friends who owned a bar together, and it came on UPN back in the day, and the other friend was Eddie Griffin. Now, although the two characters didn't get along in real life, y'all, they understood that check and that they had to pretty much come together each and every week and pray before each show. Malcolm said it was a clash of being from two different walks of life, I think Eddie Griffin probably came from more of a straight upbringing, and he was a comedian too, Malcolm-Jamal Warner was fresh off the Cosby Show, which aired in 1984 to 1992, and during that time, he earned Jamal an Emmy nomination for Best Supporting Actor. So I think that they being from two different backgrounds caused them to clash, However, the power of love kept them successful. You know, they look past their petty differences, you know. Also remember Malcolm-Jamal Warner, powerful character in the Cosby Show as a kid, you know, him being the big brother, Theo Huxtable. You know, in a recent interview with Melissa Ford on the podcast show Hot and Bothered, she actually asked Malcolm, what do you hope your legacy will be? And this was just 2 months, y'all, before he passed away at age 54, okay? He said he thinks about his legacy a lot, and that his mom said to him that Bill Cosby gave him immortality, so that there was a legacy within itself. But he also had a full life after the Cosby Show, you know, that will leave another legacy. And that's number one, being a good person. And he said he was a good person because of his father, which makes sense. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree now, does it? Now, what a timely question for Melissa Ford to ask an angel before his death 2 months later, you know? Speaking of which, did you know Malcolm-Jamal Warner was a musician too? Yes. He wrote poetry, and spoken word was kind of like his thing. He did a piece on the Breakfast Club about being the true guardians of our people, the character in which we represent ourselves to be, young, black, and gifted. Ashanti Sana. That was the name of the poem. He also has other writings under his YouTube name, Malcolm-Jamal Warner. And check this poem out called This Dope Called Hope. You're going to like that one. In 2015, Jamal was with Robert Glasper Experiment and Latha Hathaway, and they won a Grammy for the best traditional R&B performance with the cover of Stevie Wonder's Jesus, Children of America. And he was also nominated for Best Spoken Word Poetry Album at the 2023 Grammys. That album was called Hiding in Plain Sight. No, I'm so sorry. That album was called Hiding in Plain View. Excuse me. So yeah, this was just difficult to talk about because for some reason I just feel like I knew him, you know, and the man did not look a day over 30, and he was 54. I mean, God really kept him in all aspects, you know what I'm saying? And the fact that he's not here anymore is just such a bummer. It's a shocker. I grew up watching him on television, and he felt like my brother in real life. You know, we have so much in common, as such as he does with everyone else who loves music and poetry, you know, and standing up for their rights. You know what I'm saying? Thank you so much, Speaking My Radio listeners, for, you know, coming with me today, bearing my feelings for Malcolm-Jamal Warner and his untimely passing. I love each and every one of you out there, and stay tuned. I got a special episode coming up real soon. Love you guys. Peace.